I'm delighted to welcome the Business Secretary, Alok Sharma, to the show. Good morning to you.
Morning, Julia.
Good morning. Lots to talk about. Let's get straight down to it. Let's talk first of all about Rishi Sunak, your colleague, the Chancellor's statement tomorrow, his mini budget. We've had lots of things trailed in terms of, green budget, vouchers for home insulation, help indeed for various different sections, traineeships and the like. What is going to be the big message tomorrow in terms of keeping people in jobs and getting people new jobs? How is the government going to do it?
Well, I think let's wait and see the details of what the Chancellor announces tomorrow. Of course, there will also be a spending review in the autumn, so we'll have more details then. But specifically in terms of the package on green jobs, there's £3 billion that he will be setting out. £1 billion of that, Julia, is going towards making sure that we have energy efficiency in public buildings, so hospitals and schools and the like. But then £2 billion of that set aside for households, so people can make their homes more energy efficient. They can reduce their energy bills by hundreds of pounds a year. And of course, it's also about supporting green jobs. So there'll be around 130,000 jobs that will be supported as a result of this. This is tradespeople in the construction sector, builders, plumbers, and what people will be able to do is get funding support from the government for loft insulation, floor insulation, double glazing, and the like. 2/3 of the cost, up to a total of £5,000, will be covered by a government contribution. And for those on lower income, 100% of the cost will be covered up to £10,000 for the.
But we've had a lot of these sort of green measures before. Do you think that at a time when we are facing economic crisis, massive debts for years and years, people being out of work in their millions, the insulation for people's homes is a top priority for people?
Well, I think it's a top priority. I'm sure many of your listeners will very much welcome this. And Julie, this is allows.
They might welcome it. But welcoming
Yeah.
something. Would you like to give me some free money, paid for by the tax? But yes, please. But is this a top priority for our economy, for individual people who just want jobs?
Yeah, I think this is a top priority. As I said, this is going to support 130,000 jobs, tradespeople, builders, plumbers. I think many of those people across England will very much welcome that. And at the same time, we have this target of net zero emissions by 2050. And part of that is making sure that we make our buildings and our homes much more energy efficient. And this will deliver towards that target in 2050. And again, it is about putting money in people's pockets, particularly at this time. Very many people will welcome that.
OK, let's also talk about your boss, the Prime Minister, getting in some hot water, criticised for his comments yesterday, saying that too many care homes didn't really follow the procedures. He's been accused of now blaming often low-paid care home workers for not following procedures to keep residents safe and blaming them in part for the 30,000 excess deaths we've seen in care homes during the lockdown. Was he right in what he said?
Well, people who've been working in care homes have, of course, done a brilliant job under very difficult circumstances, and they've been incredibly brave in supporting those in care homes. I think the Prime Minister was merely pointing out that nobody knew what the correct procedures were because the extent of what we refer to as asymptomatic transmission wasn't known at the time. You'd also know, Julia, that we then put in place a comprehensive action plan to deal with the pandemic, to deal with coronavirus, to protect people in care homes. We put in place a rigorous testing regime. And of course, we provided extra funding as well. There was an extra £600 million as part of an infection control fund that went in. So we have, throughout this process, supported care homes. And you will know the Prime Minister, in every press conference he's done, in every public messaging that he's done, he's been incredibly supportive of the NHS. And indeed, the care sector, and we will continue to do that.
Well, we've just spoken a couple of moments ago to Nadra Ahmed, who's the chair of the National Care Association, and she pointed out, well, actually, you say nobody knew, but erring on the safe side would have seemed sensible in terms of asymptomatic transmission, but they couldn't get their hands on PPE. A lot of these care homes, of course, private bodies, but it was impossible to buy the stuff. You simply couldn't get it delivered because everything was diverted to the NHS. You say, you supported care homes with testing. Well, there wasn't testing. I've got an ageing raging on in care home. I know that they couldn't get testing because even people like me, and I'm as sharp-elbowed middle class as you get, I couldn't get testing for those in the care home, even though they had a feared outbreak. The reality is that actually they got conflicting advice. The procedures were changed. They were given the wrong advice early on from the government, saying, look, that it was a very low risk for elderly people in care homes, and that actually the deaths in care homes are the fault of either the NHS dispatching people home from hospital beds without any coronavirus testing and not getting enough PPE. Isn't all the fault actually at the hands of either the government or the NHS?
Well, Julia, we've learned an awful lot about this particular virus over the last few months, and that's why we've been able to put in place additional guidance, actually not just for care homes, but also for the workplaces. So as we've learned more, we've been able to act. I certainly agree with you, is that it was all pretty challenging at the start, but frankly, it was pretty challenging for every country across the world dealing with this pandemic. But the key thing was that we made progress and we did put in place the measures and the guidance, and we have provided
after
funding.
30,000 people died.
Well, look, every single death is a tragedy. And, I want to thank, once again, people who work in the NHS in the care sector for everything that they've done. We would not be here at this point being able to reopen our economy in a phased manner without all of that support that they have provided. But specifically in terms of care homes and testing, that at the end of April, we extended testing to everyone in care homes. That included asymptomatic staff. So we have made progress. But I of course, acknowledge that at the start of this pandemic, it was incredibly challenging dealing with, all the issues that were coming up.
Okay. Well, let's talk about what's challenging in terms of the lockdown easing right now and people enjoying Super Saturday, as I did. I went to a restaurant. They had my details because I'd given my phone number and my name when I booked. But the pub, someone else had booked that for me and put pub table, sat outside the pub. No one asked for my name. No one asked for my details, although there was something I could put my mobile phone on the wall, which I did to give my details in case there was an outbreak. But we've now seen 3 pubs close where there had been an outbreak from some of the punters in the pub and having to close. But are you convinced that all businesses in the hospitality area are actually taking the information that they are supposed to take, although I understand not legally obliged to take, to make sure that we don't see any spread of the coronavirus as a result of that lockdown easing?
Yeah. So, Julia, I along with lots of people, you included, went to a pub at the weekend. I certainly found that they took our details exactly as they should have done. There were procedures in place in terms of how people conducted themselves inside the pub, and people were following the rules. And I think the vast majority of businesses have done that. And the fact that some pubs have now closed, I think, shows that the system is working. So people are having their information collected. That is being
there's no
shared
requirement.
with the
There's no legal requirement for pubs to do that. They can give the option for it. There was no. I mean, I did not see anyone else in the pub garden I was in giving their details and checking in on this hashtag or whatever it is that you have to you show up on your phone to actually register. I didn't see anyone else do that. If there was an outbreak in the pub I was in, I was sitting outside, pretty sure I'm safe. But if there was an outbreak, I wouldn't know about it. They wouldn't know about it.
Yeah, well, I can't speak for the specific pub you went into. I mean, I can tell you the one that obviously, but what I can tell you, the one I went to, things were working well. We want to make sure that all of these settings are taking those details.
Well, how do we know that? How do we know? It's not a legal requirement. How do we know that pubs and restaurants are taking people's information?
Because ultimately it is in their self-interest to make sure that they're taking that information and they are keeping people safe. They're keeping their workers safe. I mean, you have a legal requirements, legal duties as an employer to keep your workers safe. So, throughout this process, I think people have shown an enormous amount of common sense. And, I've been speaking to business every day. And yes, they want to get the economy opened up, but they also understand we need to do this in a safe way. And it is in their self-interest to collect this information and pass it on.
OK, just finally, I want to ask you about Harry and Meghan. The Duke and Duchess of Sussex have issued another video talking about the Commonwealth and how they need to acknowledge past wrongs in order to move forward, and also that we need to recognise the thorny issue of unconscious racial bias, but questioning the past of the Commonwealth. Is the Commonwealth racist?
Well, I haven't seen the video, so you'll forgive me if I don't sort of comment on the details of it. All I would say to you is that I am from immigrant stock. I came to this country as a child 40 odd years ago, and I think we've made enormous progress in the UK when it comes to dealing with these issues around racism and discrimination. Of course, there is always more that we can and should be doing. On the other hand, what I don't think we want to be doing is effectively rewriting past history.